watching and researching a lot of good things. But I want to say to my audience, thank you for the support that you've always continued to have with GMAP1. I thank you for just being able to support Pastor Kevin. Before we get started, thank you for tuning in to Neuropathic Trainers Broadcast. I am Trina Brown, and this is also Trina Brown Speaks broadcast as well. But I want to talk to you tonight a little different, a little bit of what does it mean when you hear people talk about the left side and the right side of your brain. I want to give us a little bit more knowledge of the right side and the left side of the brain. I think once we understand what the functions are of the brain and what certain things, key elements that brings, it will allow us to get into a place to understand what goes on with our brain, with our mind, with our ability to think on a level that we need to, how to get the proper nutrition that we need to feed our brain. So I want to talk to you about the left and the right side of your brain. A lot of people might have heard this, it's the balance of making sure the right side is doing certain things that if your left is doing. But if you are left-handed, that means that your right side of your brain is given the ability to function so you can write. If you are right-handed and you write, and most of your power is with that right side, then your right side of your left side of your brain is giving it the ability to do the functions that it needs to. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what does the left side of the brain do. The left side of the brain is the most powerful side of the brain and the most part of the brain, I should say the side of the brain that we need to constantly utilize and constantly keep it going so we can remember the things that we need to remember. The right side of the brain is more of the relaxing, the creative side, the music side, the inspirational side, the personal side, the emotional side. That's your right side of your brain. So we're going to go on to knowing a little bit more about why certain things happen and what caused that. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is the left side of the brain. The left side of the brain is the verbal, the intelligence of the language, the presentation, your presentation of presenting your ideas, the expression of your feelings through that piece. That's the left side. The logistic, the math, the intelligence part of reasoning, thinking, handling mathematic problems. If you're really smart in math, I that's what's my big thing. I love math. That was more of the left side of your brain. So if you're using the left side of your brain through math and those things, that's that part. Visual. If you're creative and you are visual and you like to see things in regards of interpretation of the vision of the image, thinking through a three-dimensional type of side of it, that's the left side of the brain. And so feeling expressions and physical, how to handle things on the job, that's the left side of the brain. And so those are, like I said, some of the things I wanted to talk about. The other side with the left is that, planner. If you one of those that have to see things lined out and organized and have that to-do list, that honey to-do list, sort of say, that's the left side of the brain. So being able to be the person to feel, and also the like I said, the math part, science, math and science, that's the left side of the brain. So if you're into engineering and are into certain things, or you just have, the way of thinking of on a wizard type situation or thinking a little bit different, the logistics of that is on the left side of the brain. Rational, feeling that you don't get in the way. You don't let feelings get into the way. You're more rational. You're thinking on a common level. That's your left side of the brain. That's why they said opposites attract, so to say. So when you see someone that are you in a relationship and your spouse is use their brain, they're very creative, they're very outgoing, and so that opposite is the right and the left. Sometimes you marry someone totally opposite of what you are, or you're dating someone totally opposite of what you are. Or either you have children that's totally opposite of what you are. That could be they're using certain types parts of their brain. And so that's one of the big things about the left side of the brain that I think people need to understand. They're more realistic. They are definitely one of those that prefer to read realistic stories. They write nonfictions. They more of the people to actually be persistent of researching and documents. That's that left side of the brain. They are rather listen to the type of music. They're more of a classical jazz type music. They are dog lovers. And so those are people that are more on the left side of the brain. So I'm going to continue to talk about the left side. That's me. I am a left side of the brain type person. I like to plan things. I like to have things a little bit more organized. Even when if I'm in chaos, and this is how you can tell if your left side brain works. If you see things that's out of order and it eats at you, or it just gets to your skin, you're a left side brain person. You're a person that function more off of the left side, and so which is not a bad thing. We just want to make sure you're balanced. We want to get you balanced. We want to have you have that right side and the left side. If you like to read sitting up, that's more of a left side brain. And so those are some of the things from the left side of the brain. And so music, like I stated, if you like classical or jazz or something more smoothing, R&B type stuff, that's not too hard, then that's old school. That's that left side of the brain. And so the other side of the brain in regards of the left side, it's more, it likes to take control. So I am one of those that I have to have a little bit of control. I love to volunteer the left side of the brain as a volunteer team person. But when they volunteer, they like to be the leader of that group. They like to go and make sure that things are done in an orderly fashion. So these are the left side of the brain. They sense that there are good organization things, like I would talk about the organization, how to put things in a better format. They try not to argue or be aggressive. They more of the calmer person. They rather have things done in a calm manner. They avoid any kind of chaos or confusion, and that's the left side of the brain. They are people that work alone when they have to choose to. They can work alone if they need to, but if they have to, they can work with other people. But they're more of a loner. They can get things done in a quiet manner. And so that's the left side of the brain. So I know I don't have my last format that I did this on. I had an audience in front of me, but if you want to know more about it, please go to my website. I will be posting this on my website at neuropathictrainers.com, and that's at neuropathictrainers.com. I will be putting this actual photo of the images onto my website. So let's go into the right side of the brain. The right side of the brain is a little different. It's a slightly disorganized. It's a little bit more emotional. Right side of the brain is. There are people that are, when they read, they can lay down and read. They are impulsive. Things done. They keep track of it, but yet it's not important. They're very emotional. They're creative art-wise. They're skillful at sports, writing, function, drawing, playing music, all those things. That's the creative side, the right side. They solve problems, intuitive of solving problems, and without even liking to read the directions, they just go in and figure it out. So that's the right side of the brain, that they can see it and say, okay, let me just put it together. And so, in regards of the psychic part of it, they're interested in explaining the mysteries of stories. They like mysteries. They like to see things a little different. That is the right side of the brain. They are cat lovers. They like cats or those type of animals. Something's more smoothing towards them. The right side of the brain also is in regards of the music. They like rock music. They can study music, and they can be studying it and watching TV and listen to the music at the same time. They can study with music or TV going. Basically, what that is saying. And also with that, they're very, they're people person, but they look at things a little different. In regards of being creative, like I said, they are very creative. And they basically can process things and start with answering the question by seeing the big picture. They're holistic. They see the big picture before finishing it. They are basically process more of the information based off of what they think the answer should be, instead of going and finding the solution to the answer. So, like I said, it stated before, they'll look at something and see how it's supposed to be put together without looking at instructions or directions. And so they remember to always finish up their projects. They do that correctly. Being creative is easy by using colorful language. They are very creative in regards of speech or writing a book or doing things like that. They are very creative. Their passion flows without them thinking. And staying on track by writing down directions. They are one of those where they will write down directions when it goes to stand on track from north, east, south, or west. They avoid blunders down of thinking on other possible ways of answers of questions. They avoid that. So they are not. They rather just get to the bottom of the answer. They rather just get to the solution of the answer without going through all the headache. This is the right side of the brain. And trying to be more organized and organize plans and thoughts. They try to, but they don't always fulfill those things. And they are very outspoken as well. So that is the right side of the brain. So that can kind of answer some of the questions that people have about the right and the left side of the brain, and why the functions are the way they are. The other thing that I want to talk about, the left side of the brain, it talks about, and one of the things that I was doing some research on, it also talked about the right side of the brain have your present and your future. The right side of your brain have the ability to forecast a little further, and their beliefs are stronger on the right side. So how do I stay balanced with this? The left side has my past and my present, and the right side has my present and my future. The left side has the knowing and the past, and the right side have the belief. So the left side have the acknowledgement, and the right side have the perception. So how do I balance that? How do we get our mind to balance, even if I'm more dominant on the right side economically? I'm more balanced on that. On the right side, I'm more creative. How do I make sure that I get this to work? Because the thing about it is, you have to have a balance in your life when it comes to your brain. You have to be able to be healthy and mentally fit to understand what goes on with your body and your mind. And so I want to be able to move past my present into my future, but I always want to look back at my, have a glimpse of my past so I can know where I'm going, so I can know the mistakes I made and understand where I'm going. So I have to always be able to be creative. And this is how we can make sure we're balanced and with the right side, using the skills of being economically sound as well as acknowledging where we are, but also using the right side of our brain to bring the images of where we want to go, how we want to get there, what do we believe? Do we believe we can do it? Having that ability to change our mind to perceive our future. We have to be able to get to the point where we know we are left-sided dominant. We know the left side of our brain is more fluent than the right side. So how do I get this to do? I need to be able to see the big picture. I need to be able to understand who I am. I need to look at it at a holistic point of view. I need to look at it in a whole part instead of I need to look at it whole instead of in part, because the left side of your brain looks at things in parts. It'll take it and dissect it and break it down by analyzing it. That's what the left side of our brain does. But our right side, we look at everything in one. We look at it in a holistic point of view. We look at it in a spiritualism. We look at it in a manifestation of the foresight of how we're going to get it done. Can I get it? Or shall I be able to do it? What gets it done? How do I get to that place? So I personally am challenging myself this year to be able to be more balanced. I need to see the big picture, look at the big picture, instead of looking at the details of it, for which my left side of my brain tells me to look at details. My right side says look at the holistic of the picture. How do I do that? I need to start seeing myself in my future. I need to start looking at what I believe. I need to increase certain things spiritually, because the thing that it did tell me that the right side is more spiritually. The right side of our brain is more spiritual. So we need to make sure that we get into more spiritual obligations, more ways of doing things, our beliefs, our knowing, our functions, our ability to see things beyond our control, carefree, risk takers. We have to be those type of people on the right side. So I need to make sure I balance and say, God, I trust you. I believe in you. I have faith and trust that you're going to do this, because if I'm more left-sided, and I'm speaking from me tonight because because I know that there might be people that are more left-sided dominant. I want to tell you what it takes to get on the right side. And I'm going to do a reversal for the people that are right-sided, but what you need to do to be more dominant on the left side. So what it takes, a left-sided person plays it safe. So what I need to be on the right side is I need to be more adventurous. I need to take risks as saying, God, I trust and believe that you're giving me the ability to start this business. I trust and believe that you're giving me the ability to move forward. So that part of my right side of my brain will increase because I'm having faith to believe it. So I'm challenging the blood cells to move more so in that area, to allow the brain to start to function in that area. That's if you're more left side dominant. So those are the things that I wanted to mention tonight, because I got to thinking, I've been telling you about the brain and the power that's in it, but I need to be able to dissect this thing for you so you can understand what that really means. What does that really entail? How do I get to that place where I can understand that this is what this does for me? And so if you are, and that's going to flip the script here, I'll go over one more thing for the left side. If you are an order person, that you're like order, you like to see things in an order manner, then that you are more of a left-sided person. And so how do I get from being, if I'm a right-minded person, and that could be people that write with their left. These are people that write and be creative, and they are right-handed. Left-handed. Those people are more dominant on the right side of the brain. Those people are more dominant on the right side of the brain, and I'm going to repeat that. And so, how do I make sure that I get what I need that will allow me to look at it and balance out the right? Then I would tell you to do more breaking things down in details. Instead of looking at the big picture, start looking at breaking it into four sections, A, B, C, and a D, or breaking it down to a format where it gives you the ability to see the whole picture at the end of the results, but get it into a format where you can break it down. I would tell you to be more realistic on the left side from the right side. But the right side of the brain is telling you not to be realistic. You're more holistic instead of a realistic person. And so what you need to do is balance out and say, I'm holistic. I have my faith. I have my belief, but I need to be realistic that this might not work in certain areas if I don't do this, this, and this. So I can be holistic, but I also have to have a realistic point of view of if I don't do this based off of what my faith and belief tell me, then I won't achieve that thing. So you have to be able to, that's if you are right-minded the right side of your brain is more dominant than the left, then you have to change your way of how you balancing out. And this will take practice. And I'm going to constantly talk about this, throughout the year to get you to a place of balance, reading more, doing more language skills. That way you understand things. If you are a right-sided person, being reality-based, having those things where you're not so much in the fantasy world because that's the right side of the brain, but you have a reality of what is going to happen. And from going from the belief to knowing, I believe, now I know. So I believe what God told me. Now I know this is what's going to happen because I see the manifestation of it. So that's how you start to balance it. You have to have the belief. You have to know that. You have to believe that. But you have to get to the place where you know what you believe is factual. You know what you believe is actual being manifested the way God has told you. And so you go from appreciating or to appreciate something to acknowledging it. So I appreciate people. So if I'm a right-sided person, I appreciate what I know. I appreciate that person. I appreciate them. And so it gets me to the point where I get to that place of appreciating them. Now I actually acknowledge based off of the left side of my brain. So you have to be able to balance out. Once you appreciate something, acknowledge it. It's just like I appreciate Pastor Kevin allowing me the space for neuropathic trainers. I acknowledge that with the right side of my brain. I'm telling myself I need to appreciate him. So how do I appreciate him? Making sure that we make donations, making sure that we get the information out to people about the radio station. And so after I appreciate it, I acknowledge by saying this is what we're going to do. So that's how you balance that out, knowing the obstacles of the function and then also knowing how to object the name, So that's one of the things about the right side. Let's talk about the right side again, the fantasy base, and going from being the fantasy of something and to the reality. You daydream. Say, for example, if you're a daydreamer, most people on the right side of the brain, they sit and they daydream or wander off. And so you go from daydreaming or fantasizing or having fantasies about where you want to be. Now you have to get to the place of reality. this is where I want to be. Now I have to move towards that. This is where the reality is I'm going to be a millionaire, or I'm going to write this book, or I'm going to have this show, or I'm going to step. So those are the things that you have to be able to do. So God wants us to be balanced, not only in our spiritual as well as our natural, but as well as in the left as well as the right side of our brain. We have to have a balance in our whole being, in our body, in our mind, as we live and breathe. And so when I look at other things about the right side of the brain, they're more adventurous. They more will go and take a risk. They're more carefree. And so where the left side is more cautious. And so if you are using the right side, you have to be able to balance out, the right side people, they just walk through the park and smell the roses and no care of the world. And the right side, the left side people are trying to figure out, well, how do I get this done without, causing chaos or being dysfunctional or disorganized, and so where the other people are just skipping through the flower beds without a problem, and then the left side of people, you can literally tell once you realize and understand the studies, you can literally tell which ones are which. But as on the image that I have, and I'm going to post on my website, it actually shows the picture, and I wish I would have went on live tonight to physically show you this, that you could see the picture of people crossing over from the right side of the brain to the left side because they're realizing that they can have a balance, that I don't have to be stressed, which comes from the left side of the brain being overused and not doing certain things with the right. That's why they tell you to listen to music and dance, listen to music and be more creative. Those things, those people that have invented things, I'm an inventor as well. Though that's the creative mindset. So you have to look at, in this picture, it shows people that's on the left side of the brain jumping over into the right side, because once you have a balance, you can go from one side to the other without having a switch turned off, so to say. It will be easy for you to move from going into the right functions of your brain to the left, because your mind, you're exercising the brain to move and function as it need to be. And that's what we don't do. We don't allow the brain and the exercising of the right and the left. We just think, it's just like we don't go and practice. I remember when I was a little girl, I used to practice with my left hand trying to write, because if in case I ever broke my right hand, I needed to learn how to write. And so I used to go and practice on how to use my left hand. And so with me using that, it was allowing me to do things that will be able to keep my brain balanced. I didn't know that as a kid. I was maybe 7, 8 years old trying to do like everybody else did, because I had friends that were left-handed. And I said, well, if anything ever happened to me, I want to be able to use my left hand. So I would go around and try to use my left hand. And so now that I'm older, I understand the scientific part of knowing that my left side of my brain and my right side of my brain have to have a balance. It has to be able to function for I can be balanced holistically. I can be balanced to have a lifestyle of without chaos, without pressure, without looking at things abnormal. One of the other things that it talked about on the right side of the brain, it sees symbols and images. It's imagination rules. So you're basically allowing your brain to function and see you. People that use their right side of the brain a lot is people like a Tyler Perry, or that it's into movies and theater. Those people are more creative in their way of speaking and functioning, so they use that side of their brain. those people that have those things. When you see people that do films and can play multiple instruments and all those things, they use their right side of their brain. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying we need to be balanced. And so what we need to do is try to be at a place where we can try to trigger the left side to come in place, where we present our past and our future. Not saying we're getting rid of the past, but we know that what the past did and where we're at, and know our future is in our right side of our brain. Knowing the beliefs, well, I should say the left side have the knowing, but the right side have the belief, and being able to understand the difference between the two. And so those are some of the things I wanted to talk to you about tonight, is the power with the right and the left side of your brain. Are you balanced? Out of all the things I just said tonight, are you balanced? Are you at a place where you can say, I need to work on that. I need to be able to allow the blood to flow equally to both the right and the left side of my brain. I need to challenge my left side of my brain more, or I need to challenge the right side of my brain more. I need to be more creative. The creative side is, they came up with these things called adult coloring books. Are either going and doing more artwork. They have where you can do art galleries and sit and sketching, and a lot of people go to do art. That's creating the right side of the brain. Are going and doing dancing and learning how to do the salsa or whatever, and not from a spiritual side of it. That's healthy for us. That's something that God wants us to be creative. And so we might need to ask ourselves, where am I lacking at that I need to increase my ability? Is it my spiritual areas? Is it the holistic side of it? Is it the recognizing images, going and looking at pictures? I remember one time one of the persons I was in art classes, I should say, it was an art class, and the gentleman says, look at the artwork and tell me what you think that is. Look at the image and tell me what you see. And I looked at a couple pictures, and I'm telling him one thing of what I saw, but it was actually triggering my brain to look at things differently. And so the right side of your brain is where you want to start to envision your future. You need to not stay in your present, but always look for your future. And like I always say, take the canvas of your brain. Take the canvas of your imagination. It's clear. It's a blank canvas, and create something. See yourself. I always talk about seeing yourself there, because if you envision yourself there, then if you are a left-sided dominant person, it's easy for you to get there, because you'll see yourself and you'll achieve the goals to try to get there, because you want to get there, because of the left side of dominancy of your brain will tell you that you can get there based off of what you've seen and you believe in yourself. So that's what you have to start focusing on, believing in yourself, allowing yourself to see yourself in areas that you have never been before, allowing yourself to get to a place where you say, I can do this. I'm better for that. I can do the things that I need to do. And so that's one of the things that you have to be able to be visual. You have to be able to be at a place where you recognize where you're at and see yourself going there. That's what the left and right side of the brain does for you. And so we want to focus on that, on those images, and stay positive, stay in tune to it, to see that that's what our left side of the brain is more verbal. It deals with the digital images. It's more into those things. And so we want to make sure that we keep our mind balanced. We want to make sure that we keep ourselves into a place of harmony, learning more. How do I learn more? What will that right and left side of the brain do? The left side of the brain enjoys solving problems, going through that part of it. So that's what the left side does. The right side enjoying institution of technology and getting things and getting to the answer. And that's what that part of the right side of the brain does. And like I stated before, the right side that sees the big picture, where the left side will see things in parts. It will break things down in detail to get to the full answer. And so these are, things that you want to look at while we're trying to understand our pathway of what our brain is doing. We need to know the function of the brain so we can operate the way God called us to be. We want to be able to say, this is what I know. I'm a good organizer. I'm a leader. That's because I'm a left side person. My brain functions highly on the left side. But if I'm a right sided person where I love music, I'm visual, I'm artistic, I love different arts, love to go to the gallery, all those things, that's the right sided person. That's the right side of your brain. And so, but we have to stay balanced. Have to make sure that we have a balance between the two. It can't be no one side, because if you're one-sided, then one side of the other side of the brain will actually start to wilter away and die off. And that's how you end up having different diseases. That's how you end up having certain problems, because our brain does not allow the function. We don't stay balanced. We don't stay creative. We don't allow it to stay function the way it needs to. So we need to be at a point where we're constantly allowing the brain to grow, expand, and to allow the blood to flow. So we need to allow it to grow, expand, and have the blood to flow. And so how do I allow the blood to grow? By constantly doing something new, constantly going and updating things that if you're doing it now, constantly doing something that's allowing you to grow in the areas that you might be in right now, or even going into different areas of your brain. I'm going to be doing more artwork. I want to get more into the sketches, the more of knowing how to do certain things. That's going to allow my right side of my brain to grow. I'm doing more reading. I'm trying to read 2 or 3 books a month. That's going to allow the left side of my brain to grow. So what does it take for you to get to that point? If you're not organized, maybe just taking some time to organize out your monthly bills, or organize out your business plan, or organize out certain things. That's what's going to allow that left side of the brain to be able to function and go to a higher level and expand, so the blood can flow. It's going to expand. So like I said, we're going to grow, expand, and flow. So when you grow, that means you're allowing things to go in, your mind to allow you to grow. But when you grow, all the time, it's just like a plant. When a plant grows, it starts to expand out from the roots to the top. And so the thing about it is you want to expand your way of thinking for your left and your right side of the brain. But once you do that, you're allowing the blood to flow in the areas that it needs to. So that way, these are the things that will help you. And so when you get to that point in your life, you look back and say, I made it. I've done it. You don't want to wait till it's too late, but you want to be able to do it where you seeing the results and knowing where you're going, and it's easy for you to do it. That's the thing about it where I'm at now. It's easy for me to recognize my areas of weakness based off of the areas of strength that I have. Let me say that one more time. It's easy for you to recognize your areas of weakness by knowing the strength that you have. When you know your strength, you say, oh, I'm strong in this area. I'm strong in this area. But the key thing is, if it's a weak area, take the time, because you're strong in the other area, take the time to build that area that's weak. Take the time to look at the right side or the left side of the brain that you might be able to need to make sure you get the proper flow, get the proper things that you need to do. So it's okay when you're not strong in one area, but the key is don't allow it to die off. I'm not strong in it, doesn't mean that you can't learn it or even be able to start in it. Just say, okay, I want to know this. Knowledge is power, and the power is within our brain. Knowledge is power, and the power is in our brain. So the key thing is, if I want to have knowledge, I have to expand my process of thinking. I have to expand the way I see myself. I have to expand my brain so I can have the knowledge to get the power that I want. And so being able to see myself in that area, I recognize my weakness. I know what I need to do. So how do I get there? So you're saying, Trina, this is some good stuff. This is excellent information. So what do we need to do? One, I say again, please go to my website, subscribe, because this is going to actually be in my newsletter coming out for this quarter as well, and it's going to talk about the left and the right side of the brain. But also, I want you to be able to know who you are and what you have. Examine yourself in regards of looking back and what you do. Are you more of a left-sided person, brain-wise? Do you function based off of the left side, or are you more of a right-side person? And it's not hard to decipher, but the key thing is what's going to be the challenge is to be balanced. It's to come to a place where it's a happy medium, so to say. I know that I am good in this area, but I need to be more creative. I know that I'm dominant in this area, but I need to be more focused to do these things. So if you are a left brain person and learning those things, then I need you to focus on what's on the right side, learning the preferred way of method, the hand methods, the signs. If you are a, left side person, you're more of, you need to see the steps, you need to see the flow, you have to be visual, you have to see the vision of things before you go forward. And so focusing on the images, the vision, when you're learning, that's what the left side person is. Most people say, well, I'm visual, I have to see it. That's the right side person. So what I would say is take notes while you're doing it as a visual person, creating it in your image, but also having notes that lets the language come through, which builds up the left side of the brain. So that you can become balanced in that process. So that way, when you have that image, you take your notes based off of the image and jot down your notes from there. So you're not missing that part because you want to be balanced. And so, like I said, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. It's a little different, but I think that once you know what type of person you are in regards of a left brain or a right brain person, then it's easy to define where you're going based off of your strengths and weakness, based off of what you need to move forward, so that the rest of the year you can do the mental fitness. You don't feel like you can't do it because some people feel like I don't have enough time or I can't do it because of this, but some people haven't been properly diagnosed or properly known of what type of person they are. And so what I'm telling you is if you have all of these signs, you could be a left side person. If you have all these other signs, you're a right brain person. So the biggest thing I want to give you tonight is being balanced, making sure that you balance out the right and the left so you can be able to walk in your purpose, that you can be able to become dominant in both areas, that you can be able to see yourself analyzing yourself. And the good thing about it is if you're weak in an area, like I said before, recognize it. I know where I'm at. I understand that area. And then step up to the plate with saying, if I can't be able to get it done and know the areas that I am, get someone to help you. Go and take a class on being creative in art or being able to relax the brain, because the other side, the right side of the brain, is more of the relaxed side of the brain. So that's what I do want to make sure that you understand. The right side of the brain, it's it relaxes more. That where the left side is more, it's constantly thinking, it's constantly processing, it's constantly going, it's constantly analyzing, it's constantly trying to figure out and resolve problems. Where the other one's seeing the big picture and is done with it. And so we have to be able to come to a balance where you understand that piece. And so that's what I want to make sure that you got a clear understanding of the right and the left side of the brain tonight. The right and the left side of the brain is very, very important. It's really one of the main things that keep us functioning and keep us going. And once you understand the functioning of the right and the left side of the brain, then we can move forward. Then you can understand and part of what mental fitness will be like. Then you'll know that this is what makes this side of my brain go. This is what's going to make me understand. And so, some people, when they will help you with your children. If you have children, some people say, well, I'm having problems with my kids in school. And I know this is a little different, but because of their learning behaviors. And because if you're not understanding what type of child you have, you'll constantly kind of go at them and say, you're not learning, you're not wanting to learn. And they have found out through tests and studies that some kids are more right-sided brain kids, and they function better by learning through creativity. So that's why you have more classrooms settings now where they are creative in the way they teach your children, because the function of retaining it from the right side of the brain is different from the left side. And so when I was growing up, they didn't tell us all that. They was like, you're just not learning. You're just not doing it. And so you were told these are the things that you're just not doing. But it could be based off of the functioning of the overpowering strength from the right or the left side of the brain. So if they are more creative, then it's hard for them to sit in a regular classroom. Like my son, for example, I can only speak for me and mine. My son is definitely a right-sided brain person, where he's more of music. He like music. He's like to be creative. And so when he was finished with his work, he would sit and get into music and do whatever. And so the teacher's like, he's disruptive. And so it wasn't that he was disruptive, it's that his pattern of thinking was at a higher level. And not only that, it was at a different mindset, because he was functioning based off of what was giving him the energy was the right side of his brain. And so what I'm saying tonight is, don't allow the right side of your brain to kind of, block your children from being successful, because you're thinking to them that they're not learning, but it's how they're being taught. And now that we're older, and now that we're at that place, we have to understand where we're at. And so I want to tell you tonight and leave with you tonight is that you have to be at a place where you understand the right and the left side of your brain. That is very, very important, very, very important. And so we have to be mentally fit for 2019. But the main thing is, the more you know about who you are and the power and the greatness within your mind and the knowledge and the power that you have, then you can move forward to accomplish the goals that God has given you. Thank you again for tuning in to this broadcast tonight. Please go to Neuropathic Trainers Broadcast. neuropathictrainers.com to sign up for my subscriptions to get the newsletter. It does come via email, so it's nothing that you will be sending more information. It's just that you can get it from there. And then also you can go to TrinaBrownSpeaks.com for any speaking engagements or any activities that you would want me to be a part of. then you can reach out to me there, and we will get back with you in regards of the time and dates. I am so excited about what we're learning, how we're functioning, how we're seeing ourselves in a different way. And so we have to just be able to see that we have power. The knowledge is in the power of the mind. The knowledge is in the power of the mind. The more we expand the way we think and the more we do with our brain, the more we can grow and have the proper flow. And so that's what I believe, and that's what I'm learning and seeing. I will have a special presentation next week because I'm going to a seminar in regards of dementia on Friday, and I will be bringing some of that information back with me for next week. And so thank you again for tuning in to Neuropathic Trainers Broadcast. Thank you for tuning in every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. I appreciate Pastor Kevin for his time and allowing us the space, and for this audience and the listeners that come on a regular basis to even listen to the replay or listen to other avenues of this training or teaching, because it gives you what you need for your family and your relatives and your friends. So the main thing I want to say is I want you to grow. I want you to know your power. I want you to expand your thinking. I want you to get to a place where the sky is the limit based off of what you see yourself and where you see yourself going. And so the power and the greatness is within the mind. But the key thing, the knowledge and the power is there as well. So thank you again for tuning in to Neuropathic Trainers Broadcast. This is Trina Brown and Trina Brown Speaks. Please tune in next week. I look forward to talking to you again, and have a wonderful and blessed evening. I will close out with a quick word of prayer, and we'll go from there. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for another night. We thank you for the opportunity to speak into your people. We thank you for the knowledge that you have placed within us, God. We thank you for the knowing of what the function of our brain does in regards of the left and the right side. Father God, we thank you for you have created us to be unique. You created us to be different. And our brain has so much power that we have not even tapped into the sources, the things that you have called us to do. Because now, God, you are wanting to reveal it to us. You wanted it to let us understand the power of the brain, the power and the greatness that we have within our brain, and how it functions, God, how it's able to do the things that it does and allow us to be able to have the ability to be balanced, God. And God, we thank you for creating us to be uniquely yours, being able to function in the capacity that we do, to be able to hold the knowledge and the information that goes into our brain. God, we don't take it for granted. But, God, we just come to say thank you. We thank you for this broadcast. We thank you for the ability to speak unto your people, to give them knowledge and wisdom on what we have and how we use the tools to become greater and powerful within you, God. Not only spiritual, but, God, naturally. Whatever you want us to do, God, use us in this platform to speak unto your people, God. And we give you the praise and the glory for it in Jesus' mighty name. Amen and amen. I thank you again for coming on to the broadcast, listening to the radio show. Please come back next week. And always, like I said, please go on to my website at www.neuropathic.trainers.com. And that's NEUROPATHIC trainers.com. And I look forward to seeing you, and I should say speaking to you next week. Have a wonderful and blessed evening.